into the chat. The chat is available to everyone. So type into the chat what device you're on, and I might be able to help you. And you can also just type your question into the chat, and I'll answer it that way. So while you're figuring that out, does anybody else come with a question? For Ask Me Anything? Joyce. Okay, so I was just saying, Joyce, that usually I do this with a larger group, and so we use the raise hand button so that everybody is, so that's,
Sure.
but it's a small group. So let's just go, Joyce. What's your question?
Well, I have two questions. One is very specific. I sort of made I was doing very well on this lifestyle for, I think, a year and a half, and I made a certain cereal my cornerstone.
Yep.
And I like another suggestion. I am really sick now. I'm having more trouble now keeping my weight down, and I'd like another suggestion for a good cereal that could be a cereal and a snack. I was using Nature's Path Organic Smart Brand for a long time.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah, but I have it's sprinkled all over my house, actually. I'd like to try something different, I mean, I'm still buying it in bulk practically, but if there's another one you suggest, maybe?
Yeah, I just put a link into the chat for you. So
Okay.
that's a blog post that lists our favorite brands.
Oh, okay, thank you.
And yeah, Smart Brand is about the same calorie to fiber to whatever ratio as the others. But if you want variety, then that lists our top 5. And then below it in the article, there are a few other alternates that will have more calories, but you can mix them in small amounts.
Okay, that's great. I mean, sometimes I use oatmeal too, like a Irish oatmeal. But I like something that I could use as a snack and as a thing. So anyway, so
Yeah. Yeah, oatmeal is great for a breakfast, but it has more calories if you're snacking with it. That's not.
no, I don't snack with it usually.
Yeah, you can also like, you don't have to snack on cereal, right? So celery sticks, broccoli, like crudité, right, can be really helpful. So it looks like I'm just watching the admissions here. So Yvonne, one way that that might work for you is like if you may have accidentally said no when you gave permission to the microphone.
It works. I
Oh,
went
awesome.
into the setting. That's why I guess I got kicked out for a moment.
Excellent. Okay, so just to finish up with Joyce, and then I'll come to you. So it doesn't have to be cereal as your source of fiber, right? So I love raw vegetables. If you can get to the store enough to stay in raw vegetables, that's really helpful. A little bit of hummus or something to dip them in. You can make a dressing out of non-fat Greek yogurt and flavorings. You can thin that down, or just use salad, low-cal salad dressing, vinegars, gourmet salts, all sorts of things you can add interest. I always try to buy, celery is awesome, and a cucumber. So I'll slice cucumber and put gourmet salt on it. And then, all the other greens and side salad, you can just make a salad and eat that too. So there are all kinds of fiber, but packaged fiber is very convenient. So
it surely is. You can put it in a little baggie, and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
What is, when you say gourmet salt, what do you mean exactly?
Well, so like I've gotten to the point now where I never buy just like, of course I have Morton's type salt in the house, but I never cook with it, right? So I'll buy the pink salt, Hawaiian black salt. There are all sorts of fleur de sel from France. Like there are all these interesting salts, and they all have different flavor profiles.
That's a nice idea, right?
Yeah, and they have minerals. They're different colors and textures and stuff because they're coming with trace minerals, which is helpful.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Good. Thanks for the question. And Yvonne, welcome.
Hello.
You're unmuted. Hey,
Hi. Yes, this is not my first rodeo with the iDiet. 2015, 16, I joined a study with the iDiet and I lost over 60 pounds and it was great. I felt great. It it was the easiest diet after you you're in it,
mm,
to maintain. And then a miracle happened. I got pregnant, which I was not supposed to in the study, but it happened. And obviously, with my age and everything, we didn't expect that anymore because I had fertility issues. But because of the diet and losing all this weight and all my hormones balanced out and everything, I got pregnant with my now
it's
almost 5 year
beautiful.
old.
That's beautiful.
Yes. But now I got my weight back and I can't get it off.
Yeah.
And I developed GERD and I'm in pain and I feel miserable. And yeah, something has to happen.
I'm glad you're here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember you wrote in about this. So, I love that you were in the study. I love that you're coming back. I love that getting healthier allowed you to, get and maintain a pregnancy. Like it's all great. And now, we'll just deal with this. Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you. And yeah, I think you'll be in group tomorrow with us, so we can talk more about it.
Okay.
It's all doable. It just, you need the help, right?
I do.
Yeah.
I'm addicted to food. This is my emotional, my rewards. I don't know. I don't know. I feel miserable afterwards, but I don't know. Yeah, all
Yeah.
people know what I'm talking about. You
Yvonne, are
eat
you in the intensive or the regular
the regular,
engage? The
the regular.
regular? Okay. Um, I'm wondering if we should offer a trade up because you may end up feeling jealous of the intensive people because we deal a lot with emotions in the intensive. That's one of the great things about the add-ons that we acquired that allowed us to give the intensive. So the more food and feelings are all jumbled up, the more the positive intelligence and mindfulness practices that we do in intensive can be helpful. I'm not saying it's impossible because just sticking to basic iDiet principles really helps to decouple emotions in eating because what you're eating is not so intense in terms of like the blood sugar bounce and that sort of thing.
Mhm.
And that was really like Dr. Roberts' first breakthrough for herself was she realized that she was stress eating. And she said, okay, when I stress eat, this was before she came up with the diet. She said, when I want to stress eat, I'm going to eat things that don't have a big caloric payload. I mean, I'm using those words. I don't know exactly which words she used, but the idea was I can stress eat if I want, but it's going to be foods with very small caloric payload. Because the way the brain works is it associates, there's been really interesting studies about this too, but it associates the rush of calories that come after a food with pleasure and value and addiction. And they've done studies where, like with rats, they've sort of separated what can go in the throat into the stomach, like what the rat tastes and what goes into the stomach, two different things, because they block they either keep the food from going down or they inject a different food into the stomach. So if you give a rat really tasty food that is high in calories and is tasty, but you don't allow that, sorry, but you don't allow that food to get into the stomach, and that you substitute a food that is volumetric but no calories, the rat will learn to hate that delicious food because it has no calories. The body knows it has no calories, so it writes off that food. Conversely, if you give the rat unpalatable food in the mouth that has no calories, but you don't allow that into the stomach and you inject high calorie food into the stomach that would associate with that taste of cardboard or unpalatable food, the rat learns to love the taste of cardboard. Because the brain-body system learns that that is going to keep it alive and surviving, prepare it for the next famine, right? So what Dr. Roberts found was, okay, if I stress eat things that are very low in calories, I can kind of break that neuroassociation between stress and the soothing high calorie reward. And then I can substitute it with different behaviors. I mean, you still need to do something in response to stress. A vacuum is not good, right? You can't erase, you must replace. So then you do stretching, you take up a hobby, you do knitting, you do puzzles, you do Sudoku, you do something. But first, you can decouple the power, the hold that the foods have over you. Yeah, so we'll work on, and that, we're totally fine just in regular engage. There are other things we do in the intensive as well. But that's, part of the foundation of iDiet is helping your body understand that food doesn't have to have that kind of hold over it, and regulating your blood sugar and managing all the hunger signals so that you can be in charge instead of having your body in charge. It's really powerful stuff. And a lot of it just happens as you follow the diet. Like, you don't have to know the theory. I like talking about the theory because it's interesting. But you don't have to know all the theory to just follow the diet and have it work, because the nutrient formulation just works. But we teach you the theory too, because then you understand what's going on, and then oh, if I cheat, then here's what happens, and everything gets dysregulated again, and then I fall off the wagon, and then I get hungry. So, we'll get into all that. Oh, and Marilyn, thank you for reminding me to introduce myself. So my name's Lee. I'm one of the senior group leaders at iDiet, sort of running program design also. So you'll see me with my hand in a bunch of different areas throughout the iDiet system. And I run the intensive groups because I'm certified through Positive Intelligence. It's a certification. I was in the first cohort that was ever certified with Positive Intelligence, and I brought that to iDiet. And I'm sorry, I keep talking about it, but usually in a group, if you look at a group of 12 to 15 people across 12 weeks, someone is going to have a medical emergency in their family. Someone's going to have the car break down, or a diagnosis, or a relative gets ill, or something upsetting happens. At least one person, maybe several. When you run, just look at the numbers. Statistically, it's bound to happen. And in regular iDiet groups, people would just be like, this is too stressful. I'm going to have to opt out. I have to go deal with this problem, and we lose them. In the intensive groups, because they're learning to be more resilient, these things happen. Like, we had a cancer diagnosis in the last group, and she doubled down and stayed. Nobody quits in the intensive groups because they're learning how to not quit. And so nothing throws them. So it's really helped. And that's an example of how it's really helped results. So people lose more weight in intensive because they're more adherent. Everybody can lose weight at the optimal rate, relatively speaking, in any iDiet program with good adherence. And then the trick is, how do you get to and maintain good adherence? And so that's why we're trying to pull every lever to help you have good adherence. That's why we brought on the positive intelligence aspects in intensive. Is there anything I said brought up other questions? Marilyn, yeah. So I can hit the unmute button, but you'll have to also unmute yourself. We both have to do it for security.
Did that work?
That's perfect. Yeah.
Okay. I'm looking for lifetime adherence, however much life I have left.
Let's hope a lot.
I know all these, well, I turned 70 on Sunday.
Happy birthday.
The issue we have in my house is all or nothing thinking. Okay, so right now we're in the nothing phase, no eating, no sugar, no anything. Eventually that wears off, and then we fall into the all, which there's no balance anymore. It's, I mean, we just spent 3 weeks in Italy. I ate my way through Italy. I mean, there was never any thought about moderation or anything. So how, I know you don't have the answer. I'm just telling you my issue is how do we break this all or nothing thinking and keep it going for years?
Yeah, yeah. So have you done iDiet before?
A little bit, not,
Little
I
bit.
never finished it.
Okay, so you started a class but weren't able to finish it?
I think it was just videos.
Okay.
So anyway, I never finished.
Or maybe the on-demand version
I think
where it's
so. I
just,
think so.
yeah, okay.
Something like that.
Yep, that makes sense. So, you know how there are a lot of best-selling books now about habits, for example, right? Tiny Habits, Atomic Habits. Those are the two ones that come to mind. There's a bunch of them. Dr. Roberts built habit science into the program before those blockbusters were written. And there are a lot of lies about habit out there, like you can form a new habit in 21 days, that kind of thing. Yeah, you can sort of form the habit of flossing in 21 days. You can form the habit of going to the gym in maybe 120 days. Sometimes it takes people longer. If you pair it with reward, a lot of people can't manage to do that, but you need to reinforce it too. So there's a huge range in the amount of time it takes to change habits, to form new habits, to change habits, to replace habits. I think the two hardest things to change habits on are food and substance addiction. Now, of course, substance addiction is really hard because the neurochemical effects of whatever you're putting into yourself are so powerful. And you're burning out reward centers and you're losing the ability to experience regular pleasure. There's all sorts of brain stuff going on with hard things. That makes it very hard to escape the grip of them. But you can be abstinent with things like that, right? So you cannot drink, you cannot inject, you cannot take the pills, you cannot do whatever the thing is, whatever orifice you're putting it in. You can just not do it because it's optional. And that is one way to help begin that process. The problem with food is we still have to eat. So it's not, you can't be abstinent with all food. And then it's just it's a matter of degree, right? So iDiet programs run 12 weeks at a time. Originally, it was meant to be an 18-week program, but it was really hard to get people to sign up for 18 weeks. So we chopped it down to 12. The reason it was meant to be 18 weeks is that's a longer period to change your habits, to have the group support. 18 is better than 12 for having the support. People do best if they do 12 and 12. That's why we have engage and advance. So you can do the 12 weeks. And then if you feel shaky still, you can sign on for another 12. And most people are feeling pretty good after that. And this also dovetails with one of the other questions that I got by email, which is, why is iDiet so expensive? So I have a lot to say about that too. One thing that pulls both of these answers together is we are not a subscription service. Right? So we are a training program. We give you support, education, materials, all sorts of things while you're in the training program, but it is much a lifestyle change program and a habit change program as it is a weight loss program that provides you with recipes and support and meetings. And we don't keep charging you for the rest of your life. So if you divide the price of the program by 12, it's about the same as a lot of other programs are on a monthly basis. The thing is, you get to keep it for life. So it runs 12 weeks, which isn't a year. It's a season, right? There are 4 12-week seasons in a year. But then you can repeat it as much as you need to on your own. You have lifetime access to the tools, the recipes, et cetera, et cetera. If you need to, you can come back. So that's part of the why. And the rest is, well, I'm not going to disparage other programs, but our GLs are pretty highly trained, and they're all trained directly by Dr. Roberts. And, we really stand by the quality of our materials, that sort of thing too. And then with Positive Intelligence, with the intensive, we're licensing other intellectual property. We're having a lot more meetings. There's a lot more just personal attention that comes along with an iDiet program. So that's part of the cost thing. And we never have sales, because when you start having sales, people start waiting for the better price, the better sale. And there are so many reasons to wait to start a program already that we don't want, I'll just hope there's a coupon to be another reason to wait. We want you to start. One sort of dirty secret is the last time I did an analysis of this, people were on our mailing list for a year and a half before they signed up on average. Some people are on our mailing list for 3 years, 4 years before they sign up. Now, if they had the idea that they wanted something like this enough to sign up, probably the need was there when they first signed up. So that means that waiting 3, 4, 5 years to begin is 3, 4, 5 years of no ability to make progress. We want you to start because we know how good it is on the other side of this. We get a lot of people who are pre-diabetic or have type 2 diabetes, and there's a window. This also helps to answer another question I got by email. Someone wrote in who has type 2 diabetes and wanted some thoughts on that. There's a window of opportunity from the diagnosis of type 2 diabetes. You have about a 5-year window to reverse your diabetes with good effort. And after that, your pancreas and other regulatory systems basically give out. And then you can't reverse your diabetes. You're stuck on insulin. You're stuck with medication. So we really want to help people do what they need to do to reverse the disease progression when it's still reversible, because they'll have a better life. So everybody who's here, I'm really glad that you are, because you're taking action, and action is so important. Decisions and action, so important. So back to the all or nothing point, right? It's good to be all or nothing initially, because when you're doing the nothing, like only healthy things, all the junk out of the house, all that stuff, that's great to begin, because it's easier to make that start when you have the courage of your convictions and all the energy of starting. It's January, it's New Year's, you've got the oomph, right? And then we build our new habits and preferences on that. So if you remember Dr. Roberts' brain scan studies, they're in the science tab on the website. If you go to the website and look at science, they're described there. She literally showed that she could make different parts of the brain light up in response to different food stimuli for people who'd been on the iDiet for 24 weeks. Remember I mentioned 12 and 12. So in this study, people were in the program for 24 weeks, and then they went into the scanner at week 0, and then went into the scanner after week 24. and their response to food cues had drastically changed. So they were not responding to fried chicken, and they were responding like, ooh, I want that skinless, boneless chicken breast. They were responding to high fiber cereal instead of Reuben sandwiches. They show them a whole bunch of different types of pictures of food. And it's through that good adherence initially that you get the good brain training, and then it's easier and easier to make the good choices. Eventually, you get to the point where you can go to Italy and enjoy things deservedly and come back and still enjoy what's going to keep your weight where you want it to be. So eventually you get to the point where you can leave the ranch and come back to the ranch. You can off the wagon, back on the wagon. And you can like eat out once a week, twice a month, and then go back onto your easy plans and lose the pound or two that came with that one meal out before it gets out of hand. It's about coming back to the good practices so that you can earn the right to have the really good meals that count the occasional times that they come up. Because a lot of indulgent food is not really worth it. Like if I could go to Panera and eat really indulgent food, but is it a gourmet gustatory experience? No, it's just high calorie food. It's really hard to find something that's not high calorie food at a place like that. So we
Thank you.
learn to save it for the good opportunities and not waste it on the bad ones too. Thank you, Marilyn. It's a good question. Okay, so I see some chat activity. Let me see here. Joyce, from the middle of 2021 to now, I was happy with what I lost. I didn't feel hungry. Yeah. But for the past 6 months, I've been sloppy and hoping I could get away with it. Now I'm feeling hungry. Yep. Now I'm feeling hungry and eating more. I still mostly eat the iDiet food with additions. Yeah. Should I start at stage 1 or stage 2 again? Yes. So the calories are the same in stage 0, stage 1, and stage 2. So anybody who's listening to this recording, we're referring to the different phases of the program. The calories are the same in all the phases of the program. What changes is the amount of variety that you're offered, that you can select from.
I didn't realize that actually.
Yeah. And that also goes back to the brain training, because the more you repeat things, the more you get used to them, the more you like them. You're like, why does my dog love the same damn can of food? Right? Repetition. You feed a creature something when they're hungry, they learn to associate pleasure with that thing because they're hungry and it fed them. That's the pleasure. Survival is the greatest pleasure. And so the brain is designed to make those neuro associations, right? So I would say start with stage 0, because you can drop back into the brain training and the pattern easier. And just the shopping and the prep are easier because you have to buy fewer things, prepare fewer things. You can batch cook. It's just easier all around. Stage 1 and stage 2 with more variety are for when people, one, feel really in control, and if they crave a lot of variety, because some people don't need a lot of variety. Some people really do want a lot of variety. And so we offer it to them in, the stages with higher numbers. And also one of the what's the right word? We screwed up in naming them numerically, because everybody's been trained to think like, well, grade 4 is better than kindergarten, right? You never want to go back a grade. So if we number these things, you think, oh, I must progress through them, and I'm smarter if I get to the higher number. Actually, in this case, that's not the case. So everybody does better at stage 0, which has more repetition and less variety. And that's a great home base. And then stage 1 and stage 2, it's really more about the variety. It's not about your skill level, your worthiness, what you should be doing, none of that. Right? So I always try to sort of disabuse that. It's a very obvious assumption. Yeah. Yvonne, okay. Yeah, I can help you with that, Yvonne. I'll follow up by email. So yeah, so back to Joyce's comment. What happens is if you're eating non-iDiet foods, they're probably going to have more calories, more sugar, digest faster, raise your blood sugar faster. And the crazy thing about that is, even though you're eating more calories, you will be hungrier because you'll have a crash afterwards that makes you hungrier than if you had just been eating low glycemic, higher protein, nice, stable blood sugar foods.
Mhm.
So even if you are eating like 80% iDiet food, but you're sprinkling high calorie stuff on top for variety and fun, then things will get more dysregulated again and you'll feel hungrier and it'll be harder to stay on because you'll keep having these rebound reactions. Yeah. So it's about, it is kind of like to Marilyn's point about all or nothing. It's good to be really on your game initially so that you can see how successful you can be. Because so many people start this, or they train themselves over time that they're a diet failure because every time they do a diet, they fail. But is it the diet failing or is it cheating, right? It's like kind of like you were saying, like I started playing with it. I forget your exact words, but like, so this is something I say in every group. Everybody will succeed for the first 2 weeks, and then everybody will have some version of this thought, which is, wow, I'm doing really good. How can I screw this up? How far can I push this? How much more can I add and still lose weight? Let's find out. And they find out, and then they're like, oh, I'm a failure. And you just go back to the diet. You're not a failure, just go back to the diet. The only failure is quitting.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so Grace, so this is a direct message, so I'm going to read it silently to make sure that I'm not betraying any confidences here. Okay, this is not a confidence question. Have you made any changes to the curriculum for the advanced class? So I think, Grace, have you signed up for an Engage class? Because I don't think we have you in an advanced class right now. But generally speaking, we haven't really changed the curricula for the classes because we haven't needed to. Like it's all based on research, and the research that Dr. Roberts chose is all still valid and good. What we have found is when people come back, they think we changed the curriculum because they forgot a lot of it. And that's completely normal. Like no fault, no shame, because what studies show is that even if you're sitting at the front of the class with your notebook, ready to go, most people remember 30, 40% of a lecture initially, and then the memory degrades because you're busy writing down what you heard. And so you miss something, your mind catches on a thought and wanders and you miss something. You don't hear it exactly the way the teacher meant it, that kind of thing. So even showing up, every session and listening closely, no one's going to catch all of it. And when people come back and repeat, they do really well because it goes deeper. So I don't know if that helps answer the question, but that's the answer that I like. Yeah, thanks, Grace. So let's see. I have a couple other questions that came in by email. So one from someone who took the program before, also like Yvonne, in one of the research programs, and she's now 80. So congratulations, and wants to know what changes with the program, when you're kind of up there, right? Your metabolism changes. And so we have to make adjustments for that. The latest studies have shown that metabolism does not fall at a slow, steady decline from 20 to 80. It's mostly stable to 50, maybe to 60, and then there's a real decline. So somewhere between 50 and 60, you'll really start to feel it. From 60 on, definitely. I'm dealing with that now. And strength training can help because muscle mass is part of your metabolism. So, and strength training is relative. So for some of us, it's just like sitting down on an ottoman and then standing up and then sitting down and standing up and standing down and sitting. That's a squat. That's a perfectly good squat. And your lower muscles, your lower body muscles are the biggest muscles on you. So start with your lower body and you'll get the most bang for the buck. And what I just described is also a very safe exercise because if you fall, you're falling on your ottoman. You're just sitting down, right? It's safe. We don't want to tell anybody to do anything that's not safe because we don't have that liability. We're not a training program. But anything you can do for strength, soup cans, upper body strength is also really important. Like as women get older, especially, like if anybody ever wants to fly again, that upper rack on the plane, really hard to deal with, right? So anything you can do, upper body or upper cabinets, that kind of thing, very helpful for just like living on your own and aging in place. So strength training. And while you're at it, what studies have shown, because I also work with Alzheimer's doctors and cognitive decline doctors, and what they found is that if you challenge your brain while you're exercising, it can help protect yourself against cognitive decline. So that would be like on the easy end, listening to a podcast, listening to something educational while you're doing whatever your exercise is. But even better, it'd be like ballroom dancing or Tai Chi or Qigong, something that involves coordination. Or like learning a language while you're on the treadmill, something that challenges the brain while you're moving. Because the growth hormones that come from exercise plus brain activity help to build new neuronal connections and protect you, keep us thinking. I need to do more of that too. Pickleball be another example, right? Because you're doing stuff. And, unfortunately, between like 22 and 82, we need 1,000 fewer calories a day, basically. People go from like needing 2,500 calories when they're younger to 1,500 when they're older, or 2,200 to 1,200. So, we have to adjust to that slowly over time. Oh, the other part of the question was, does iDiet deal with prebiotics? I love talking about prebiotics or probiotics. So prebiotics are fiber, probiotics are little living creatures that we put in pills and swallow, the microbiome, right? The cool thing about iDiet is because we're eating so many vegetables and so much fiber, the probiotics, your microbiome runs on fiber. It eats fiber, it consumes fiber. Fiber is its fuel. So all you really have to do to have a healthy microbiome in iDiet is follow the diet. And you'll be getting a variety of fiber sources that will help to stimulate good, healthy growth in your microbiome. You can also take probiotics, but don't take the same one every single day because there's thousands and thousands of different bacteria in your body, and most of those pills have like 4 in them. Some of them have 12 or 16, but still, that's a very tiny percentage of all the possible bacteria in your microbiome. And your microbiome adjusts to have the right balance for whatever you're eating. So eat a wider variety of vegetables, fruits, and fibers, and you'll have a healthier, more diverse microbiome. You can take probiotics a couple times a week, space them out, change brands, shake it up. That can help. But just eating a healthy diet is also very helpful. And also, speaking of fiber, what we'll all be doing in iDiet, for those of you who are in the program, I think most of the people attending actually are, is for the first week, we've changed it. Speaking of changing the curriculum, what we're doing is when new people come to iDiet, they feel a lot of overwhelm. They feel like we're hitting them with a lot of stuff too much at once. So what we're trying to do is we added like meeting number 0, before meeting number 1 to ease into it. And what we're going to do in this first week is slowly ramp up our fiber together. So the first meeting will be tomorrow and we'll talk about that. But if you eat too much fiber too soon, too quickly, you can be uncomfortable. And so we're going to get back up slowly together for safety and for comfort. I should mention we have a podcast now. So just go to our blog and there are links to the podcast. It's interviews with Dr. Roberts. It's the first season is 8 episodes. 2 of them are out. We're still editing the other 6. Editing takes forever, but they're really good. So another question. So I spoke to that one about the price. One question was, I can't get your cookbook, your free cookbook on the website. So anybody who signs up for our email list, you sign up for the email list, the thank you page has a great big button that says, this is your cookbook. Just click that picture of the cookbook and it will download. And you should also get a link by email as well to download the cookbook. So, and you can always write in for help if you can't get the free cookbook. But I just figured I should mention that. And then on that note, we have other free things on the website for anybody listening to this recording after the fact. We have the free cookbook that you can get by signing up. We have a bunch of cooking videos. There's a food tab on the website with a bunch of cooking videos. And we have a YouTube channel too. There's a YouTube button on the website that'll take you to the YouTube channel, which has a bunch of webinars and other recordings. The podcast I mentioned, our blog has many, many articles about the science of weight regulation. And then we have free recipes just in the food section of the website. You don't even have to download the cookbook. There's a bunch of recipes right on the website. Some of them have cooking videos to go with them. And the last question I have here is, how do I pick the best option for me? So we have 3 offerings right now for getting started with iDiet. They all have basically the same recipes, curricula, handouts, materials, and the differences are in how they're delivered. So on demand is the one that I think maybe Marilyn mentioned, where it's recordings. So that is very much like any online class where there's no live instruction, but you log into the website and there are recordings for you to watch. And you get a new set of recordings every week for 10 weeks. And that covers the iDiet curriculum. And you get all the handouts. And there's a chat widget for support with a group leader. So you can chat back and forth with an actual iDiet person. But you're doing it on your own. There's a forum, but people don't tend to participate in the forum because the kind of person that chooses this program is more interested in doing it on their own. Or they're very busy, or they can't make the meetings, right? It's hard to make the meetings. Everybody's very busy. So that's one way to do it. The other way to do it, sort of the middle path, is the engaged groups, which generally meet at night. And it's a group of 12 to 15 people usually. And we all do the program together. Now, one change, not to the curriculum, but to the way we deliver it this time around is, in past times, we would all go through the material in the meeting. And then whatever time remained, we would answer questions and talk. So maybe 60 to 80% of the class time was going through the material. What we're doing this time around is we have recordings of the material with Dr. Roberts delivering the material and other group leaders. And it's all in a, sorry about that. It's all in a studio, produced videos. So what we're doing this time is we're giving you those videos to watch before the meeting. So it's your responsibility to watch those videos in the week before the meeting. And then that opens up the whole hour of the meeting for question, answer, group discussion, taking it deeper, going back over what you didn't understand. So you're really getting more time with the material and more coaching and more community in the group. So we're hoping that that will help. So that's a regular engaged group. And then the third option is the intensive, which is all of that, plus another set of meetings each week for 12 weeks, dealing with the psychology of it and mindfulness and a lot of things that are described on the website that I won't bore you with again, because you probably already read them, but it's really powerful. And you get another app that is straight from the Positive Intelligence people that's full of exercises and things you can do in videos. And they have their own training videos that you also watch. And then there's more group discussion and exercises that we do together as a community on the Positive Intelligence nights, which is the Monday nights in this case. So back to how do I decide? So if your schedule only allows for on demand, then that's an easy decision. If you want to be in a meeting, then you have to decide, do I want the training program, the nutrition and habit training program that is engaged, or am I really also struggling with my feelings, with the fear that I can never do this? If you've sort of failed out many times before and you want extra support, if food and emotions are very entangled for you, then it'll be more helpful to be in the intensive. That's really why we wouldn't have created it if we didn't see the need for it. That some people still struggled. We were giving them all the tools, but they were having trouble applying the tools. And so that's why we're doing the intensive, because it gives you a lot of techniques and support and extra ways to apply these tools to your life in a more and then it has all these spillover effects. It's really really powerful. People have all kinds of revelations in the group that they can apply to other areas of life. Oh, thank you. You've listened to the podcast. Thank you. Somebody here heard the podcast, so I appreciate that. Okay, those are all the questions that I had to answer from email. Does this bring up any other questions or concerns from those present? If not, I will let you go back to your evening. Who wanted to speak?
Lee, how big is the group for the intensive program? Is it the same size as the Engage?
Right now, the intensive group is a little smaller than the Engage group. So it's pretty intimate right now. And, there's a possibility that more people will sign up because they can sign up through Monday or through Sunday night, really, because we start on Monday. The form goes dark after we start. So no more signups after we start. So I don't know what the final number will be, but it's a smaller group right now. Another thing we do in those groups is we do breakout rooms. So there'll be opportunity for like 2 people in a breakout room. So people will buddy up and have opportunity to talk in smaller, because everybody who joins iDiet is lovely. Like nobody needs to be afraid of speaking in a group, but people sometimes feel reluctant to do so. So it's easier if we do what Zoom calls a breakout room, which is instead of everybody in one space, you break the space up into a bunch of spaces where there's just 2 or 3 people in each space. And then I won't be there to facilitate, but you just talk with your iDiet buddy. So that's part of it also. Joyce. Oh, you were unmuted. Now you're muted. So just do it again.
Okay. I'm
Perfect.
kind of a question lady, actually. I did the whole, this is in a bunch of groups. I did the whole thing with the book and the iDiet book. And,
Yep.
I have to refer to things many times to to remember it, actually, or review it. But
Yeah.
is there anything like basically revolutionary or different information wise from the book? Can I still use the book?
Absolutely. The book is a great, sort of reference, and many of the recipes are the same. The way we structure the information, the way we roll out the program is different because the program was built on the book and evolved from the book. So the way the material is structured, it's much more straightforward and sort of easier to understand and packaged in a progressive way.
Yeah, I could see why that would be good. Actually.
Yeah. But I think that anyone who does have the book and reads that along with it, the lessons don't parallel the book exactly. So it's not like the book is a textbook to the program. We used to actually send everybody the book, and then we realized they don't need the book. We have handouts, we have everything. So we stopped doing that.
Yeah.
But if you're doing both, you'll probably retain more if you're also reading the book. But it's just that the book isn't really a textbook of the online program. They're two separate things. Yeah.
But I mean, they didn't suddenly just discover some miracle thing that's not in the book. Right?
If there was a miracle weight loss cure that actually worked, we would all know about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Dr. Roberts actually said in the podcast that like she reviews the research every week. She's producing a lot of the research, and she's always measuring what she's done against the latest research, and nothing that she's ever put into the program has ever been called into question by newer research.
Oh.
Because really, like, look at, gosh, I saw a friend's like ladies home journal, Women's World, like these magazines that I remember from my mom. They still print them. It's amazing. And I'm looking at the headlines on the cover. They're the same headlines.
They are.
It's the same damn, there's nothing new. And this is true. Like you can say it's a new recipe, but it's based on the same principles.
Right. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for the question. Anything else? So it looks like I'll see a lot of you tomorrow night. So that'll be fun. And thank you for coming. Thank you for making this more interesting. And thank you for allowing the recording. This will be shared probably on Facebook and on our YouTube channel so that other people can benefit from the questions and the discussion. You still have the book too? Excellent. Yeah, the book is, anybody who's listening to this, if you're on the fence or whatever, you can buy the book for $2 or $3 used. It's like not a lot of investment just to check it out. So it can be helpful just to have as a backup. I should have Dr. Roberts sign mine. I never thought to do that. Anyway, thank you all so much. We're at the hour, so I'll release you to your evening. I look forward to seeing you again.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.